Oh my God, it's amazing. Now women are thanking me. They're telling me that I'm refreshing, that, oh my God, if you were lying, you wouldn't say something like that. Hey everybody, this is Mike Doretto with the Infinite Man Academy and SashaPua.com, here today to talk to you about casual relationships. Specifically, how to make sure you're on the same page as your partner in a casual relationship. Do you actually have a casual relationship? Does she know what's really going on here? Now, I get this question a lot because most of the guys that we work with are, moral, ethical individuals. They don't want to hurt people's feelings, and but they, at the same time, they want, oh, how do I date multiple girls? How do I have this? How do blah blah blah? Well, it is relatively simple. You just have to find someone who's interested in having a casual relationship with you, and then have the courage to discuss this with them, to express yourself, set your boundaries, be straightforward, be direct, authentic, vulnerable, all the things that we teach here. Whenever you don't do those things, whenever you're not honest or vulnerable, it just comes back to bite you in the ass eventually. And sometimes, in the worst case scenarios, this could mean, an 8+ year relationship. It could mean children get involved. It could mean divorce. It could mean all kinds of stuff, just because you didn't open your mouth when you were supposed to. So we run into problems sometimes, though, when we're not exactly sure, when we've dated somebody for a little while and they started out saying they were fine with the casual nature of things, but then we're starting to wonder if that's actually true. Are we really on the same page? Is she really happy with the situation? Is she aware of the situation? So this is why I always recommend that guys have their initial disclaimer, the things that you say on the first date before the relationship even gets started, and then you circle back a couple days, weeks, whatever feels appropriate, to make sure that you still are on the same page. Now, when it comes to this type of situation, we have two things to worry about. And one of them is the women or men, this can go either way, that are consciously manipulating you. And by that, I don't necessarily mean that they're maliciously manipulating you. I don't think that they're trying to pull one over on you and hurt your feelings and break your heart or something like that. I think that instead, they are young or inexperienced to the point where they've bought into that old trope of, oh, I can change him. They say to themselves, okay, this person is presenting themselves as non-monogamous or telling me that this is a casual relationship, but I don't agree with that. I think that, eventually they'll fall in love with me and then they'll want to be exclusive to me because maybe they have the programming, the lens through the world where they go, well, that's what you do when you fall in love with someone. If you fall in love, then it equals monogamy. So I just have to hang on, put up with his bullshit long enough for him to love me, and then he'll switch gears and everything will be fine.
You serious?
If you have any experience with this, you're probably chuckling to yourself or perhaps hanging your head in sadness that this might have happened, because it doesn't work. When the truth actually comes out, and along the way, depending on how long the relationship is, resentment is building, disagreements, fighting, nagging. It's not an ideal relationship to begin with. And then when you finally realize, like, oh wow, we are on different pages. She wants me to be a way that I don't want to be. The relationship has to end anyway. So it's doomed to failure inevitably. If it doesn't become a relationship, then the person's behavior, because most people are bad actors. Most people have a really hard time sitting on negative feelings, especially when it's the thought of somebody you have feelings for being with somebody else. People have a really hard time bottling that up. So you will probably be able to detect that in their behavior or their looks on their face or how they act around you. So that'll bring the truth to the light to light that much sooner and put the kibosh on the relationship. Anybody who's done that, who's made that mistake, whether, on either side of that table, you become more sensitive to it. If you're the person who made the mistake thinking you could change somebody, usually you learn and you don't do that again. If you're the person who they were trying to change, it tends to make you more aware of the warning signs, so you can avoid another person playing that trick on you for as long next time. Now, even though these people are consciously trying to manipulate you, by thinking of themselves, oh, he'll change, or I can change him. It's not like they sat down to be malicious. They didn't sit down and go, I'm gonna create a situation that I'm going to hate later on, right? That's not what's happening here. It's just people, capricious youth, making mistakes, things like that. So if this has happened to you in the past, let it go. No hard feelings necessary. Assuming of course she didn't go crazy and slash her tires or smash her window when she realized that you were never going to be her boyfriend. The other problematic situation is when a person is intrigued, interested by your idea, but it's kind of the first time they've experimented with it, or maybe the first time they've been presented with these concepts, and they simply can't predict the future. So at the moment, they might be sitting in front of you on your first date or whatever and say, oh yeah, non-monogamy, casual relationship, that sounds great. And they might be thinking whatever they're thinking. They might be defining casual very different than you. They might be thinking, oh, casual means that he doesn't want to be my boyfriend yet, but we still see each other and I should stop and I shouldn't see anybody else. Like they might think that casual has some level of exclusivity to it on a sexual level, and think that casual just means how you spend your time. I've run into people like that. So we have to make sure that we clear these things up, otherwise it's going to come to bite us in the ass. The other thing is, we don't know how we're actually going to feel until we're really confronted with the situation. So you might be sitting there and maybe a woman is telling you, yeah, I want to do a casual relationship. You say, oh, great, that sounds awesome. That's what I want too. But then after some time passes, you catch a little bit of feelings. And then when you call her up to set up a date and she goes, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm seeing my other friend that night. I have another date that night. You feel it. You feel, upset, depressed, crushed, hurt, and you start thinking to yourself, you know what? Maybe I'm not cut out for this casual relationship anymore. That could be another bad situation. Now, if that happens, we've got another couple of ways it can go. One would be, it's too late, I'm too in love with this person, and I want to keep them, so even though I've realized that casual isn't right for me, I'm going to stick it out in the hopes that things will change. Well, now we're back in that worst case scenario again, where the relationship has stopped being real, it's become manipulative, because even though it's passive manipulation, it's still manipulation to get the person to do something that they wouldn't otherwise do if they knew the truth. We don't want to go that way. Instead, it's better to realize, oh, you know what? At the start, I thought I could handle this. Now, after some time's passed, I realize that I can't, so we need to end this relationship. And in that case, you can have a nice mature discussion like mature adults and go your separate ways as either friends or at least happy acquaintances. There's no need for there to be hard feelings in that type of situation. Now, what's the ideal circumstance? The ideal circumstance is someone that has already been thinking about this before you came to them, saying you're non-monogamous or talking about being casual. They had already come to some conclusions on their own. Either they've had experience with one of those situations in the past, or they've been thinking about it, on the back burner, more or less up until the point that you brought it up. Those are the people for whom you are more likely to be successful with. Now, of course, over time, they could become the situation like I just described. They could change their mind. But in this scenario where you're not the first person introducing the topic to them, it's much more likely that you're having a meeting of the minds instead of one person selling this really interesting new shiny idea to the other person. In that ideal situation, again, we want to follow up, have our second disclaimer, and let's talk about what goes in that second disclaimer. In the first disclaimer, you said, hey, before we even meet up, before we even get started, before we even take this date any further, you need to know that this is all I'm looking for. It's a casual relationship, it's a non-monogamous relationship, it's X, Y, Z. They've agreed to that already. So we're going to bring that point back up and refine it a little bit and make sure that they know, what's really going on. But we also want to put a couple things around it to make sure that it comes out smooth and that nobody's feelings get hurt in the process of just trying to bring this up again. Number one, guys, do this in person for a lot of reasons. First and foremost being that when you're in person, you have a much better chance of reading the other person's emotions, of getting the actual truth out of the person. When you're talking, you'll be able to see their body language, their facial expressions, and you can always ask them questions. Hey, what's that look on your face mean? Oh, you look upset. What are you feeling right now? And you can go deeper and really, address these issues. Very difficult to do that over text or email. Now, I know it makes logical sense that you want a paper trail. You want to say, hey, you know, I put this in writing and you agreed to it, and therefore you can't be angry at me. But that never works, guys. That never works. I've never proven someone wrong with evidence, been like, see, scroll up, that's where you made the mistake, and had them go, oh, my bad, I feel better now, I feel great, all is forgiven. It hasn't happened. So don't worry so much about your paper trail. Worry instead about doing things right in the moment when you're bringing this up. So you've brought it up, you've asked your partner to sit and talk with you for a little bit. Now, remember, whenever your boss says something like, hey, you got 5 minutes, you think you're getting fired.
In my office now.
Yes.
Sit. Yeah, we gotta trim some of the fat around here.
What do you mean by trim the fat?
I want you to fire the fat people.
What?
They're lazy and they're slow and they make me sad to look at. You can start with large Marge.
Marge!
Can you come in here, please?
No, Margie's not fat, she's pregnant.
So let's make sure we start off on the right foot and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you for a sec. I just want to, I want to start off by telling you that I've really enjoyed dating you. I look forward to continuing to date you. Everything seems to be really cool between us right now. I just want to make sure it stays that way. So we're telling them, hey, I like you. I want this to keep going. You're not getting fired. This isn't a breakup conversation. But it is important. Then next, we want to be vulnerable, and we want to express our fears, our concerns, our worries. We don't want to be heavy-handed about this and be like, I'm non-monogamous, you need to know that, you need to deal with it. Obviously, that's not gonna help anybody. But we do want to say, hey, I'm worried, because you can go, in the past, if you've had this experience, or if you haven't yet, if you're brand new, you can say, I've heard about this happening to other people, but you can say, I'm worried because in the past, I've had some miscommunications in my relationships where either the woman told me she was cool with it when she really wasn't, or she agreed to something that it took her months to realize what she actually agreed to, and there was heartbreak on both sides and drama, and I just really want to avoid that. So my experience has taught me that it's best for me to bring this stuff up, even if I brought this up once to you already, but I feel like it's a little better to be redundant in this case. And yeah, so I just wanted to remind you that, hey, this is a casual relationship. I'm a non-monogamous individual. And so, you can and should date other people. You might want to tell them, I don't know, if you're one of those guys who already knows whether or not he wants to hear about or not hear about those things. Number one, if you're just dating, if this is a casual relationship, you do not need to hear about what she does. Not unless it turns you on. If it turns you on, you can tell her that. Maybe she'd be down to share. But otherwise, it's not your business, and it's also not her business. People that can have healthy non-monogamous or healthy casual relationships, they don't need to keep tabs on their partner or what their partners do when they're not around, right? That's girlfriend material. That girlfriend, stuff, not casual girlfriend stuff. So you can say, yes, you can and should date other people. And this is where you say, I am regularly dating other people. Like, make it real for the person. I am doing these things that I'm telling you to do. I'm assuming you're doing them too. If you're not, I suggest you are, because I'm telling you, I'm sharing my truth with you, right? Now, yours doesn't have to be so verbose or whatever. You can get this done in a much more efficient way, I'm sure. I'm a very talkative person. But the components are basically make them feel good about the relationship, put them at ease that you're not breaking up, then be vulnerable, share your concerns and your worries, the why behind why you're actually having this conversation, restate your truth, which is, non-monogamy, casual, these are the boundaries around the relationship. And then one final part that's really key is create a safe space for your partner to come to you should her feelings change. So after you've reiterated that, you're still cool, okay, we're still on the same page. Now, obviously, if you're not on the same page, you're gonna have to have those conversations and work it out. But say she's one of our ideal situations and she's like, yeah, that was redundant. I'm bored halfway through this. I already know, we're cool. Great. So at this point, we wanna say, look, if your feelings change, I want you to feel safe coming to me right away. I don't want you to bottle anything up. I don't want you to feel like you need to hide anything from me. I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm not going to yell or anything like that. I will be disappointed if you're coming to tell me that we need to end the relationship, of course, because like I said, I've enjoyed our time together. But we can part as friends. There won't be any hard feelings. Please, if your feelings change, tell me early, and we can discuss it. So that's my advice on how to make sure you are both on the same page in your casual or non-monogamous relationship. If you guys have any other questions about dating, relationships, alternative relationship styles, non-monogamy, polyamory, things like that, click the link below and set up a free consultation with me. I'd love to hear from you guys. Other than that, take care, have fun, peace.